The choices we make, the way we choose to educate our children, the choice we make in how we govern our home, all of this is determinant for our future satisfaction or dissatisfaction. We used to say, folks on Twitter, to whom I want to send a big hug, retweeted this phrase a lot. God always forgives, man sometimes, nature never. And that's how it is. Life, what we have chosen, will one day demand from us. When we need to shed those deep tears, the only way is to try to figure out what we can fix today. The big problem is that we often find out there's not much left to do. There's one thing in raising children, my people, that's called character. That's determinate. What is character? It's everything that's been imprinted, everything that's been left in the mind, in the heart, and that identifies us as a person. When we say, wow, this person has character, that means they don't need to be watched over. They have a good foundation. When a storm comes and starts tearing off everything, only what has a good foundation remains on the ground. Life is the same. Sometimes storms blow over us and we feel our structures slipping. The greater, the more rooted a person's character is in good values, in well-built realities, the greater their ability to resist and stay standing will be. What's the big problem of today's world? The fragility of people. It's astounding, folks. It's terrible how we identify this all the time. Life is as hard today as it was 50 years ago. What changes are often the opportunities. We have a lot of possibilities today, so of course we'll suffer a bit more. The greater the number of possibilities a person has, the greater the number of choices they'll have to make. So today's human beings need to be very prepared to survive. But difficulties have existed since the beginning of time. Now, what scares me is realize how fragile people are nowadays. They give up too easily. It's astonishing how today we're not willing to live the sacrifices life demands. And I think that's the root of the big problem. Raising a child, bringing a child into the world, a person brings the child into the world, but they want to keep living the way they did before they had children. That's very irresponsible. One day I was watching that TV lady, Astrid Fontanelli, who's a TV presenter. On the same program where I met Fleur de Lis, she adopted a boy. And the TV presenter was asking, "So, Astrid, how's your life now?" After the child came. She said, "Totally changed." Just with that sentence, you already know Astrid is on the right path. A child who doesn't totally change a mother and father's life isn't being well managed. Then the presenter asked, "But how? What changed?" She said, "I don't go out like I used to. This boy needs to be watched all the time. I don't entrust this solely to the babysitters. I make sure to spend as much time with him as I can." Why? My people, whoever spends more time with the child will have influence over them. Whoever spends more time with that child. So, you see, even if you trust the babysitter's physical care, you know the babysitter won't let them suffocate. You know the babysitter will feed them at the right time, bathe them at the right time, put them to sleep at the right time. But what about character? Who's going to instill that in the child? The babysitter or you? Are our babysitters prepared to offer the character our children need? Sometimes they are. Sometimes they're even more prepared than the parents. But that's not always the case. Character is what will determine the choices. What will help this boy and this girl make life choices. We're shocked to see how early our children are turning to drugs these days. Of course. Our 11, 12-year-old children are already living adult lives. They're not prepared for adult life, but they're already able to live it. We've said it here so many times. I particularly think it's an aggression against our children when we expose them to a stage of life they're not prepared for. Children have to be children. Teenagers are teenagers. They can't live. They can't rush into something they're not prepared for. That's a crime. And that's why, if you've brought a child into the world, start managing their stay in the world now. Because if that child doesn't turn out right later, we won't have anyone else to blame. We continue tomorrow in the next video. Complete conference links in the description.